Diamonds. Apparently they are forever. I don't know what that means, but I've heard it said, so it must be true. Still, the purpose of this video is not to look at the characteristics of diamonds, it's to look at the business behind them. An $8 billion industry, countless fortunes have been made in the diamond trade. But the industry is not what it seems. In reality, it's a giant cartel, a global monopoly controlled by one company. This is the story of the diamond trade, of that company, and of how they built a racket the mafia could only dream of. The most fundamental principle of economics is that of supply and demand. In short, it's that the price of a commodity is determined by the demand for said commodity in relation to the supply. It is at the intersection of those two factors that value is determined, hence why water is not very expensive. All humans need water to live, so the demand is high. But as water is globally abundant, so is the supply. Supply and demand is crucial to understanding any market, but it was this concept that doomed the diamond trade. There is nothing new about diamonds. For thousands of years they have been considered precious, and traded as such. For most of history they were incredibly rare, with only a couple of regions known for producing diamonds. But in the mid-19th century, unusually large diamonds began to be found in Africa by European settlers. Some found even by accident were as large as 80 carats. Word soon spread that southern Africa was a land rich in diamonds, a place where you could run your hand through the dirt and find a handful of diamonds. Among those to accidentally find the gems were two Dutch brothers called De Beer. The De Beer brothers were simple farmers, but realized their farm was better at producing diamonds than livestock. So they set up their own mining operation, using profits from sales to expand the mine. Theirs was just one of countless new mines flooding the markets with diamonds. Before the diamond rush, only a couple of pounds of diamonds were discovered each year, but now African diamonds were readily available, saturating the market and driving down the price. There were more diamonds than ever before, and it was bad for business. Many mining and trading operations were forced to shut down. But with the industry falling apart, some saw opportunity. Cecil Rhodes was a British colonial who carved out a niche within the trade. Instead of investing directly in diamonds, he sold water pumps to miners, with his customers taking on all the risk of prospecting. All the while he built a profitable trading firm. Then, having built a small fortune, he began to buy struggling mines. At first it was small and largely forgotten operations, but gradually he acquired an empire of mines, stretching across South Africa. In partnership with the Rothschild family, he soon came to own the De Beers farm, on which was the largest of all diamond mines. Known simply as the Big Hole, 50,000 miners dug it by hand, extracting a wealth of diamonds in the process. And that was just one of multiple mines on the De Beer farm. But by this time diamonds had become virtually worthless, and the smart money had moved to other commodities. Something had to be done, so in 1888, Rhodes decided to merge his company with that of Barney Barnato, who, let's face it, had a fantastic name. Together they owned almost every diamond mine in Africa, giving them a virtual monopoly overnight. They called this new company De Beers, and immediately got to work limiting the supply. Thanks to supply and demand, this slowly drove up the price, once again making diamonds valuable. By definition, this made De Beers a cartel, controlling 80% of the global supply, and fixing the price accordingly. To do this openly would have caused international outrage, so instead they set up a series of shell companies to sell diamonds. Secretly owned by De Beers, they created the illusion of healthy competition. De Beers actually proved to be the most successful cartel of all time. For generations they controlled the price of diamonds, making their income stable and predictable. In the 1900s they further secured their monopoly under the leadership of Ernest Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was owner of the only major competitor to De Beers. Over time he bought an increasing amount of stock in the company, eventually gaining control of it. The most powerful figure the diamond industry has ever seen, he co-opted the government of South Africa, compelling them to penalise other diamond producers. From then on, every South African diamond would need to be sold through the Beers Cartel, and so De Beers was able to maintain its monopoly for many decades. Still today, they operate more than 90% of South Africa's diamond mines. But in the year 2000, De Beers decided to dismantle its own monopoly. Diamonds had recently been discovered in Russia and were flooding the market. So bizarrely, the De Beers cartel disbanded. The world's largest producer of diamonds is now Russian, with De Beers in second place. But De Beers remains a multi-billion-dollar empire, having built the diamond industry into something it never should have been. It's genuinely impressive they were able to keep the scam going for so long, especially since diamonds are essentially valueless. So the next time one of your friends buys a diamond, call them an idiot. So that's the end of this video. If you want more content from me, follow me on TikTok or Instagram.